Have you ever dreamed of shooting one of these with one of these? So have I, and I'm gonna get to do it today on Steele's Reel in the Outdoors.
What a pig.
That is me shooting at the finals.
Nice deer.
I love it! I first met Pete Doobie a couple of years ago when he invited me out to do an archery hunt for mule deer in one of his private areas in Wyoming. And it was pretty obvious after hunting with Pete a couple of days that he's not your average Wyoming outfitter. I mean, and Pete's definitely no Bubba. He probably knows mule deer and the hunting business better than anyone I've ever met. And he's got a unique operation there at Bear Track.
Everybody asks me, well, if I get my deer, if I get my animal, it's not a question of if, it's just when. The hunts are typically 3 to 5 days. We'll hunt all 5 days if you want. Looking for a certain deer or a certain animal, that's fine with us. Once you're done that, we take you prairie dogging, upland game birds, trout fishing, coyote hunting, sightseeing, whatever you want to do. It's a full package type hunt. So, you know, what we're trying to do is just provide a good quality service for everybody to find good animals, see lots of deer, see lots of antelope, have lots of opportunities, and maybe get that big one.
After that first hunt out there with Pete, it was very obvious that he had one of the best mule deer areas that I've ever been in. And when he invited me back to hunt with a muzzleloader, which muzzleloaders and rifles, that's his specialty. And he has an October hunt that's off the hook. And the cool thing then is you can combination antelope and mule deer. Never taken either one, much less with a muzzleloader. So when he invited me out there to do that, I was in.
You got your rangefinder.
There.
Do you have one?
Yes. Can I say that in French? I took a guy from France hunting one time. I asked him how you say rangefinder in French. He said it's rangefinder.
Well, first on my list was a mule deer. I really had that high on my priority. And Pete had an area that he felt like we could kill a really nice one. And if you've never done any mule deer hunting, whether it's bow hunting or gun hunting, you're hunting typically open spaces in Wyoming, and you got to have an eye for it, and that means glassing. Lots of driving, lots of use of the binoculars, lots of use of the spotting scope. And you have to be able to pick those deer out of really tough areas. And it was amazing to me how quick Pete could pick those deer out of a big hillside. He'd find the buck and he'd point him out, pull out the spotting scope, and then he was able to judge them in just a few seconds. He could tell whether one was something we wanted to go after or not. And that's huge when you're hunting out there. That first morning glassing out of the truck was a little rugged for me, I'll admit, because my cameraman and I had our flights canceled twice on the way out there, and we finally got to sleep at 2:45 a.m. And at Pete's place, you wake up at 5 and get ready to go hunting, so we were really working with zero sleep. And we're tooling around in a nice warm pickup truck glassing, and I was kind of nodding off a little bit when Pete finally found this buck that he really felt like we should go after. It was a really good deer that he felt like if we could put him down was going to be a big time trophy. Of all times for a daggone airplane to fly over. Unbelievable. When we first left the truck, we felt like we could just kind of sneak through a little draw and maybe get a shot at him fairly close to the dirt road, but the buck was with some does and one other buck, and he started working his way up the valley, and it turned into a race. And we're carrying camera equipment to boot, so we're working our way up here trying to get in front of this deer, and it's not long to where we're huffing and we're puffing, and finally, you know, I'm following Pete, I'm trying to stay up with him, the camera's trying to stay up with me, and we roll over the top of the knob, and bingo, there's our deer. And now we got to drop down and make a quick shot. Now I gotta admit, I'd had a kind of a tough run with the bow the last couple of months before that, and it felt good to have a rifle, a muzzleloader in my hand. I can reach out and hammer an animal at 200 yards with that muzzleloader. And when that deer stepped out there at about 135, 40 yards, I said, this is game over. And I slide out there, and we're more concerned, really more concerned with making sure the camera's got the shot between us than making the shot. It's a done deal. The deer is broadside 135 yards. And I slipped the safety off, and the cameraman gave us the thumbs up, and I touched the trigger, and when the smoke cleared, the deer was still standing there. And I think I was probably more embarrassed than I've ever been in my whole life. I was devastated.
I have no idea. Holy crap. Look at damn Christmas.
Positive, man. I missed him.
Yeah, he's...
I couldn't look Pete. I couldn't even look at Pete. I couldn't look him in the eye. He didn't know what to say. And I mean, he busted his tail to get us in position on a trophy mule deer. Day one, game over, and I blew the shot. I thought I shot under him. He thought I shot over him. Regardless, I missed him. I missed him clean. And I couldn't look at the camera. I couldn't do anything. I was absolutely just bummed out. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I had to blame it on the gun.
What'd you say it was at 100's dead on?
Yeah, she's good at 100. But, you know, I love this hard one shot when I got here. I haven't making excuses. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't have held any more dead on and squeezed any better. I mean,
Now, an inline muzzleloader like the night I'm shooting is extremely accurate, and something really bad has to go wrong for it to be the gun. It's usually operator error. But I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't me. And so what we did is we went to the bottom of the hill, we found a rock about 100 yards away, we put the rangefinder on it, I laid down and I let her rip. Well, it was obvious from the video and obvious from what we saw, the gun was shooting about 18 to 20 inches low. The only thing I could think of, and this is, if you go on a hunt, you spend the money and the time and the effort to go on a hunt with a gun or a bow, do not just get off the airplane like I did, grab your gun and go hunting. You've got to take a test shot. Pete requires that all of his people come in the day before and go to the rifle range to make sure their guns are. It's about humane kills, it's about success. You got to do that. Well, our schedule didn't allow us to do that, and somehow in transportation that scope must have gotten knocked off. Thank goodness we were able to figure out the problem, adjust the scope, and proceed on.